How are you this afternoon? I hope you're doing really well. We've got a good day, good weather this afternoon. Today, we're going to be talking about muscle injury pain and how to avoid it. This is in particular importance for your working and sporting dogs. So my name is Angela Ahern. I'm a certified canine athlete specialist, and I'm from the Biokinetic Canine. I also do canine myofascial release. Awesome job. Any case, so we're going to be talking about muscle injury and how to avoid it. Why is this an important topic for me? Mainly because it happened to me. It happened to my dog. We were training for a huge competition, and actually it was last year's main event. And we got a training, and I didn't notice muscle injury. It was a core muscle injury, and I didn't notice. She was just not jumping quite as well as what I thought she could do. And you think, oh, she's a bit lazy, so you push them a little bit harder. And your training is much more before a big event. And 1 month before the competition, we crashed out, and we couldn't enter the competition. And it was something that could easily have been avoided had I had known, wasn't last year, year before, had I had known what to look for. So that started my journey on fitness and conditioning. All of that hard work blown out 1 month before a huge competition. 6 weeks later, of course, she was perfectly fine, and she's still fine today, but I missed out on a huge event. And my training into fitness and conditioning has also now helped me with my new dog. I saw that his position wasn't quite what it should be. There was no limp, no nothing. There was nothing that you could see except he wasn't sitting quite like he used to. And I checked him out, and there, right on the inside of his rear leg, there was the start of a pulled muscle. So I knew immediately what to do. He's fine now, but had I not seen that, and the sign is subtle, you don't even know it's there. Had I not seen that, this injury would have come out worse in 2-3 years' time. So how do you know if your dog is even in any pain? This is it's really difficult, particularly for your high drive dogs. So I'm talking here to our sporting people and our working dogs, and our hunting dogs, agility, IGP, PSA. These dogs have got such high drive, and they are so eager and willing to work all the time that they've got no self-preservation whatsoever. Throw a ball, they will jump off the building to get the ball. They really don't care about themselves, and we are their guardians. So as a sport dog handler, we've got this huge responsibility to keep them safe in their sport, because they will just work for you. They've got no problem working for you at all. So it's really difficult to tell with a high drive dog if the dog has got a small muscle injury, but they do tell you in their body and how they move. There's various changes that you can look for besides an obvious limp, of course. You'll find changes in temperament. They'll be a little bit more grumpy and miserable because they're in a little bit of pain. There'll be changes in their performance, exactly what happened to my female, where you think, oh, you're just being a bit lazy now. Come on, you can do this. I've seen you do this before. Or in your agility dogs, they're not turning that corner out of a jump quite like they should. What's going on? So their performance changes will be subtle. And for you, it'll just be, oh, my dog's messing me around. But they're not. So there'll be changes in possibly their eating habits, and also changes in their grooming. They'll be licking a certain area of their body too much because it's sore, so they're trying to make it feel better. So their grooming patterns may change, or you'll even see some changes in their coat itself, where the hair may not lie as smoothly as what it used to, because underneath there's some pull of the muscle tissue, and it's causing the hair to lie differently. So there's a few tips and tricks that you can learn to look for in your dog's body to see if they are in pain. And this is particularly important to our working dogs, because they just don't show you the pain. And if the dog is actually limping and the pain is visible, At that stage, you know that the injury is really severe and you really need to go and see your vet in a hurry. So what causes some of these soft tissue injuries? There's a few things that will cause them to come to the fore more often than not, such as improper warm-ups. So if you can take the dog out the car and go and train the dog. Improper warm-ups, the dog's muscles haven't had a time to settle in. You're looking also at overexertion or stretching or a pull in the muscle. So you overstretch the muscle where there's just stretching, but there's no tension in that stretch, so that the stretch is uncontrolled and they can easily pull a muscle. Any bone or joint issues, say now a joint is just slightly out of alignment through anything that you haven't seen. It happened. My one dog slipped on a tile and his hip went out, but this much, and it was different. And you have to wait for, and the muscle underneath was a little bit pulled. That's how I found the injury. So a pulled muscle underneath causes hip to go out. That's all better now. But if you don't see it, that's where the problem lies. Or if you're training all the time, the same, with little variation. And we sports people, we are guilty of that. Oh, we are. Because we go out there and we do our sports training. We're doing the same thing over and over. And those bodies of the dogs just get used to that. There's no adaptation for different exercises. And the problem comes in is when the environment changes. So if it's raining or if there's a pothole in the field when they're running flat out, and their body only knows those particular movements, and the body can't adapt and change quickly. That's where your soft tissue injuries come through. So what are the signs of a soft tissue injury? There's two things. There's the obvious one, which is your acute injury. So there's instant limping, instant pain. You will have heat and swelling and inflammation, and it's there for a few days, and then it goes away after a week or so. That's it's a no-brainer. Your dog's just sore, you go and have it checked out, and it's just a bit of rest is all required, and it's gone. The problem lies, and this is where your sport dogs, they in this second category, is your progressive injury. It appears to be painless and it's intermittent. So sometimes the dog is a bit tweaky. It's not always there, or the dog will do something and there's a small limp and then it's fine. It's usually associated with scar tissue, and that hampers the normal movement of the dog. So where the dog has injured itself before, you haven't noticed, and there's some scar tissue that has appeared, there's some weakness, and now he's doing something and it's a bit weak, or it's a bit sore, and he'll limp and then he's fine. That is the real dangerous one, because even if you go to the vet, you can go, actually, I know it happened to Erica Bowling, Dr. Erica Bowling, my trainer and mentor. It happened with her dog. He had an iliopsoas tear, but she went to vets for over 10 months and nobody could pick it up. And every time she went to the vet, the dog was fine. Nobody could pick up anything until she went to a sports specialist, and they picked it up in about 5 minutes. So that intermittent progressive injury, which is a buildup of scar tissue causing a weakness, that is the dangerous one. And it's difficult to spot, and it's difficult for your vet to spot. But you will be able to pick it up with the small signs that you learn about your dog's body. So is it a muscle injury or is it not? Well, if you do see that your dog is in some pain, or even if it's an intermittent thing like we spoke about before, take your dog to the vet. The vet will check through x-rays, MRIs, ultrasounds, etc. You can't always see a soft tissue injury on an x-ray. So the MRI will be coming through, but those are quite expensive. Sometimes they're necessary though. So they will check for injuries that affect the joints. They will check if there's any misalignment of the joint, or they'll also check if the muscle size on either leg is different. So has the muscle wasted away? Is there any atrophy? So has the dog been compensating to the one side away from the injury? And that way they will be able to confirm that, yes, no, there's something going on here. So for things that you are not too sure, the vet will first eliminate a major thing like a joint, a huge ligament tear, something major, because some dogs can work through those things. And then if it's not those major things, then they will default to soft tissue injuries. How can you avoid a muscle injury? There's a few things that you can do. So don't be scared of working your dog. A dog needs to be strong in order to avoid being injured. So how do we get them to be strong? First of all, you can do proper preparation before your training. So we've spoken about it before. Your warm-ups are seriously important. And warm-up specifically before you are going to train in a particular sport. That what I mean is that your warm-up must be an extension of what you are going to be training. So look at what you're going to be doing and warm up for those particular areas in the body. So your agility warm-up will be a little bit different to your IGP warm-up. It'll be sports specific. You take what you're doing and just bring it down to about 50% of the intensity. Make sure that the dog's body and blood flow has gone around. You're raising the body temperature. A warm-up is very important. So if I was sitting here and you asked me to, from my seat sitting here this afternoon, to quickly go run flat out down the back of the house, I'm going to injure something, I promise you. Warm-ups are really important. Learn about your dog's gait and his muscle movement. Watch your dog always. Learn about what is normal for your dog. How is his movement? If you know your dog's movement, you know when his movement is not how it's supposed to be. So learn his movement and learn his gait. Any change in gait or change in his steps, it causes stresses and tensions to build up in other areas of the body as the body compensates for that weakened area. So similar to us, if we have injured an ankle and we start limping, we're putting a lot of weight on the other leg that is good and healthy to take the weight and pressure off your sore ankle. And what happens if you've got a sore ankle and you've got to wear a moon boot for 3 weeks, like my daughter had to? Her good leg got a sore knee. And once that moon boot was off, her leg with the hip, with leg that had the moon boot on, that hip is injured because of the changing gait that she had to have for 3 months. The same thing happens with your dog. There's a change in gait and it causes problems elsewhere. So even if there's a change in a joint, a layer of a joint, it will cause compensations through the back, onto the shoulders, and onto the other side of the leg. You need to know what your dog's normal movements are. That's really important. Keep a critical eye, as they say. So you want to avoid that compensatory muscles and joint issues, because what will happen is those issues will crop up later on. And you think, like, but he's never been injured that side, but they crop up. So you want to avoid those things. And that's how we get through avoiding muscle injuries in dogs. How to avoid that pain. And a dog, it's so important for us working people because our dogs just train through it. So if you want to know a little bit more about these things and you want to go into a little bit more details to how to pick these up, how to develop that critical eye, this is what we're talking about. This is what we're putting together. I mentioned yesterday, I was like, oh, so excited. And I just blurted out that you guys want to do a tribe, a group, a community of where we can all join once a week and discuss these things in detail. And I can show you about the various exercises and where to start. It's the big thing where you get so many people that they don't think the basics are important and they think they know it all, but they end up with continued injuries all the time. And it's so unnecessary. All you need is the recipe. And I want to share that recipe with you so that your dog can give his full strength of his body in whatever trial you're doing. So if you're interested, send me a direct message or pop me an email. I'll give you all my email details now so that we can show you in this community what we're doing. It's a brand new thing. So what I want, anybody that's interested, you guys are going to be part of the formation of it. I've got ideas of what we can do. Like, for example, when we do, let me show you, when we show training how-tos, it's loads of fun. Let me I'm trying to just show about developing the crawl movement in the dog. And we have loads of fun. So I was explaining this, and you can see the dog's having the best time. But that's what we do. And if you want to be part of all of this, please join me and be part of our founders members. You guys are going to go have a say in what we are, how we're going to do it. We can come together every week and discuss things, discuss training, discuss foundations with our dogs, the how-tos with our dogs, what to look for in dogs, the muscles of the dogs, how they work, how to get the maximum of your dogs, when to do balance training, when to do strength training, when to do flexibility training, all of those things, and how it works in your sport. So if you're into IGP, I'm an IGP fan. I am your impact sports person. If you're doing agility, if you're doing fly ball, if you're doing hunting with your dogs, if you're interested in being part of this group, send me an email or send me a direct mail. My email is fit@thebiokinetic K9. We are going to be offering a special launch price of only $29 a month. It will be going up to $59 a month. But you are going to be getting all my information and all my knowledge. We're going to be lining up interviews with specialists in the various sports and how the dogs perform, the biggest areas to concentrate for pain points in those sports. We're looking at nutrition, we're looking at supplements, we're looking at total sport dog and how to get that body ready for the field. So please let me know. I imagine that you don't want your dog to be part of the nightmare that happens with muscle injuries, and it's easy to avoid. I'm hoping that you enjoyed today's talk. Send me your messages, send me your questions, pop them in the comments, and I'll be happy to answer them for you. Have an awesome weekend, as per usual. See you next week. And if you have any questions or if you want me to talk about anything in particular, let me know. Send me an email, put something in the comments. I'm happy to answer. All right. Have a good Friday. Have an awesome weekend. Cheers, guys.